Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about motivation because that is the theme for this week. Podcast episode coming out this week is all about this. And this is like a tidbit or some extra points I want to make around the subject. So what is motivation? Motivation is the energy we use to take action and to get things done, to behave a certain way. So a lot of times when we're stuck, it's because there's a lack of motivation. So what can be keeping us stuck, basically? One major thing is that we stand in our own way. We allow our habits to control our day-to-day lives. I talk about this all the time because it is such a key to changing so much about your life, and it is to break habits. Sometimes you're even breaking good habits, but if these habits are keeping you from progressing and making progress towards a goal that you have, then they're not good habits to have, regardless of what they are. So you have to be mindful of what you're doing day to day, every single day, repetitively. Check those things. Are they really contributing to your overall life? Are they contributing to your overall future and goals and future self that you hope to achieve? What are these habits that you do every day really doing for your mind, your body, and your soul? And that is going to highlight so many areas where we need to reevaluate. For example, I have the habit that I'm changing, actually. I've had the habit of when the kids go to bed, that is like our time to kind of just like veg and talk and just kind of go brain dead. And so we typically, Adam and I, we typically turn on a TV show and just like zone out, right? That's not inherently bad. We all need moments of rest and decompressing, especially if you're an introvert like me. We need that daily. But binge watching TV does not serve my mind well. So I'd much rather incorporate reading my Bible, which I am doing a Read Your Bible in a Year plan right now. And that is the time that I've designated for that. I would like to do that in the morning, but the way my mornings are structured now, fitting the time in to read my Bible doesn't fit in the morning. So instead of zoning out on TV, now I read my Bible before I go to bed, and it has become a wonderful habit. It helps me sleep, it helps me relax, it helps me wake up with a better mindset rather than falling asleep to junk. And so it's important that we evaluate the habits that we have daily and see how we can lighten those, change those, break them, whatever we need to do. So that's an easy way to get unstuck, because the reason you're stuck is because you're not challenging yourself. You're not accepting responsibility. You're allowing your habits and the things that you're used to doing control your decisions. It's like, 8 o'clock, kids are down, TV time. Your brain, you like don't even think about it. It's just automatically what you go and do. We all have these types of things in our lives and in our routines. So really checking your routine and seeing where there's holes in it, seeing where you can adjust and change it, that is a huge way to motivate you to do something different. And it really takes just implementing something that you know you can work into that area. Like I said, it's easy for me to switch from a time where I sit and watch TV to a time I read my Bible. I just sit in the same chair or go to bed and have my Bible there. And instead of picking up the remote, I pick up my Bible and read. This is a change that helps me with my spiritual life. It helps me, like I said, with my mindset and being mindful and having a healthier mind than just consuming dumb content. And that kind of rolls into the next thing I want to talk to you about. And the way to stay motivated is to stop consuming and start creating. No, I don't mean you need to go create a masterful art piece or a piece of music or something. You may want to do that, and that may be your wheelhouse, and you may like to do that kind of stuff. Get artistic and create something artsy. But it really means stop consuming and create things with your time, whether it's fixing your house and getting it organized because there's this one area of your house that's driving you nuts and it's taking up a lot of your energy and brain power, and you're constantly thinking about how you need to get that thing done. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got to clean that closet out. Oh my gosh, I need to go organize my kid's room. We all have these areas of our home that are kind of disheveled, and it may be something that just really aggravates you, but you can't quite get to. So instead of consuming, create that for yourself. Create the time to go and do it. We all have buffers in our life. We all have areas that we are using to buffer. I just mentioned TV at 8 o'clock at night that I'm usually I've been in the habit of doing, and now I'm changing. So what areas are you habitually doing that you are just consuming? We are just inundated with information constantly, whether it's social media, whether it's the news, whether it's sitting and watching TV. We are in a society that we just consume, and we don't spend time creating. We don't spend time thinking new thoughts. That's creating a new way to think about things, creating a new way to engage in your day and engage in your routine and engage in your plans. That's new. That's creating. So if you're stuck, create a different plan, create a different routine. Make yourself get up in the morning, create this new morning routine, create a new afternoon routine or evening routine. If you are a person that has passions or hobbies, if you like to scrapbook or if you like to play music or whatever, create that for yourself. Create the space in your life and the time in your day to do that instead of just blindly consuming information. Because the more we consume, the less that part of our brain is activated, the creative side of our brain. And what does our creative side of our brain do? Well, it connects a lot of different areas to our brain and helps energize our entire outlook on life, our mental health, everything. It activates parts of us that lie dormant a lot of the times because, like I said, we are habitual creatures, and 90 to 95% of our days are completely repetitive as the day before, meaning we think the same things, we do the same things as the day before over and over and over and over again, and we don't change anything. So the best way to make progress with your goals and get unstuck is to create and not consume. So what areas of your life can you start creating in and not consuming? Just flip the script. Stop consuming just podcast after podcast after podcast. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. You better go listen to the Thought Vault, my podcast. But instead of just thinking, stop, journal, journal, think about new thoughts. Okay, I listened to that. So instead of just being on this hamster wheel of just consuming the content, what did I learn from that? Write it down. Journaling is a wonderful way to create because it makes you think, it makes you decipher what you're feeling. And when we can see things out on paper, a lot of times we are much more equipped to handle it, deal with it, change it, walk through it. It is so much about journaling is so much about really digging into what is going on. And instead of just reacting to our feelings, we can contemplate our thoughts, change our feelings, change our actions, and cause this new outflow of energy in our lives, which is huge and changes so much for us. So really being conscious of what you're thinking about is a big way to get unstuck. And one great way to do that is to create, whether it's doing a hobby that you love or journaling. That's an easy one. Everyone can do that. And that will really help get you reactivated into what you're really thinking about, what you are consuming, and changing that. So part of the consumption component of motivation is really setting boundaries and knowing what you're consuming and knowing what triggers you. So a lot of times, if I've had a hard day or a long day with the kids or work or just life in general, it's a trigger for me, like when I'm tired, to just go sit down and watch TV and go brain dead. I like to say I need some brain dead time. And so what happens with that though is I'm causing this connection in my brain to say, okay, when I'm overwhelmed, I pick up a donut, or when I'm overwhelmed, I sit in front of the TV and I get sedentary. So it's really helpful for us to understand what kind of triggers us and the response that we have to do those buffering things, like I mentioned, like watching TV, eating the wrong foods, getting in a depressive mood. And what you guys need to realize is what you're feeling, whatever emotion that you're experiencing, is first initiated by what you're thinking about. So to get motivated, you've really got to master what you're thinking about. And the best way to do that is really to pause and take stock of what you're feeling and why you're feeling that way, what is going on up here that's making you feel that way, and really catching on to that. And a great way to do that is just to simply, like I already mentioned, journal. But if you sit down and say, okay, why am I feeling so anxious right now? Write out what you're thinking about, and you can see it on paper. Okay, this is why I'm feeling anxious, because I'm thinking about, all these tasks I need to get done, or this meeting I need to get to, or, all this stuff. And that is what's giving you this overwhelming sense of anxiousness, depression, whatever the emotion is, grief. So we have to be mindful in what we're thinking about. And that really helps us stay motivated. So if you're in a season of being stuck or unmotivated, you have to manage what you're thinking about. So setting boundaries on things that trigger you into your old habits, making sure that you are aware of how much consumption you are partaking in, really allowing time in your day to create and be creative is a huge thing to get you motivated. And really taking the time to notice if you are allowing a thought to give you an excuse. So what I'm thinking of here is, when you are, let's say like you've been running at high energy, you've been really busy, and now you need a rest. We all need to rest. We all need to take a moment to rest. But sometimes we allow that rest to be a stopping point, because it's like, okay, well, if it's this hard, maybe it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. If it's challenging me in this way, then maybe this isn't the right thing for me. So oftentimes we can talk ourselves into letting go of something that we're pursuing because we believe that the way we're feeling isn't correct. But the way you're feeling really just has to do with what you're thinking about. So if you're trying to pursue something or get a grasp on a goal that you have, you really have to manage how you are structuring your day around it. Number one, how are you allowing part of that goal to get met every single day? Then you need to recognize how you're buffering from getting that done. Are you filling your schedule so much so that you can have the excuse that you're too busy? Are you staying up late at night so your excuse is that you're too tired? Are you eating the wrong food so that your excuse is you just don't feel good? You have to really be mindful of what it is that you're allowing to be a tripping point to getting your goal done. And I know this for me is so much revolves around me telling myself I don't have time. I don't have time to get this done. I tell myself that. And so innately my action is to let it go, because I'm telling myself I don't have time for it. Even though I do, I'm just feeling overwhelmed in that moment because I have a lot going on. And so that's a way that we have to live intentionally, by really intentionally thinking about our days and not allowing these tripping points and these moments of pause to really keep us from getting back into the game, so to speak. Because we're all going to have days that aren't good. We're all going to have times that we don't feel like it and stuff like that. And you do need to listen to your body and mind in those moments and really evaluate what's going on. But you also don't need to allow tripping points to just completely throw you off kilter and let something go. I think about working out or diets or things like that. People try, and it's like they have one bad day and they're like, oh, forget it, I'll just restart next month. They use that tripping point as a time to just stop, where you have to logically think, okay, no, because in a month, how am I going to feel if I really do stop doing this, right? I'm going to be so upset with myself that I'm still not further along. So you have to take stock and ownership of what you're doing in your day-to-day life and really be intentional with your time. And it doesn't mean you have to have everything scheduled out and to a T, because some people cannot operate that way. But it does mean you do need to establish a routine and a place for things to be there daily that will help you get to where you're trying to go. Because if you leave it up to yourself to just, oh, well, I'll think about that later, or I'll do that later, your brain is going to shortcut to all the habits you've always had, and you're never going to get traction on what you're wanting to do. So it's super, super, super important that you are mindful enough to make a plan, to break that plan down into steps, and to put those steps into your calendar or into your routine. So for me lately, the last 2 weeks, I was in a habit of not doing my morning stuff and getting up early before everyone else. And so I was just so frustrated with myself because I knew that time when I force my butt to get out of bed and get my day started before everyone wakes up, I always have a much more productive, happier, joyful day. It always happens. So for me, when I'm laying there in the bed, I cannot allow my brain to say, you're too tired. No, it's too warm. No, you didn't get good sleep. Like, my brain's going to tell me everything it can to conserve energy so that it doesn't have to get up. But I have to be aware enough to say no. Like, if I get up now at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be freaking ecstatic that I've been up, for 4 hours so far and not been rushing around for the last hour and a half. Like, that just can't be my life because it makes me not healthy mentally or physically or spiritually, because I'm just frustrated. I'm walking through my day in a frustrated state. So we all have things that we get frustrated with, and you need to take note of those, because if you're frustrated with them, there is a way to manage that. And there is a thought process that's behind that negative emotion that you can work on to change things. And it really just starts with getting real with yourself and being conscious enough to know, like, I'm responsible for my day. I'm responsible for how I feel. I'm responsible for what I get done. And you can't blame that on other people, because the only thing that's going to change your life is knowing Christ and pursuing him and doing what you need to do to make those things stronger, more positive, and more fulfilling in your life. No one else can do that for you. And that to me is like a huge light bulb for me, because you cannot walk around life blaming your circumstances, because we all have circumstances, and you honestly never know how your life is going to change. You never know at what point your life was this way and then now it's this way, because we're all going to have those moments in our lives that things change, and seasons come and go. And so we have to be flexible. We have to be introspective and know that, like, this is a part of who I am, and this life is the life I am living. And so if you want to live it a certain way, if you want to have certain things and live in a certain mindset, you have to do that for yourself. And it comes from knowing God, pursuing him daily, and being focused on the right things and not the wrong ones. And that sounds so simplistic and so like, okay, but that is the truth. If you know there's a lot of negative things that are making you feel negative in your life, you need to fix those. You need to love yourself enough to work on that area. And you can see where the areas are that you're weak and you're struggling with by seeing how you're feeling about certain parts of your day. I mean, it's so obvious. Like, are you sick to your stomach in your car in the morning? Is it because you're going to a job that you don't like or that you have issues with? Okay, you need to address that. Are you waking up more tired than when you fell asleep the night before? Okay, well, that's a physical thing going on with you, and you need to address that. Are you not getting good sleep? Are you not eating good food? What is going on? And it really comes down to making the choice to choose better. And we can do that every day. God gives us new mercies every day to choose the life we want to live through him. And we all have that opportunity. When you wake up and you have breath in your lungs, you get to live the life that you want to live. And it really comes down to, this is what free will is about. This is the freedom that God gave us. And if you're walking in the knowledge of him and understanding him first, it's a freedom that you can't get from any circumstance in your life, regardless if it's good or bad. So resting in that is a motivating factor to tell yourself, okay, like, yeah, there's things in my life that I don't like right now, but I can change them. There's feelings I don't want to have anymore, but you can work on that. There's goals I want to reach. Start working on them. It's a choice to do things differently. It's a choice to think differently. But when you recognize that you have the power to do that, you can change any part of your life that you want to. You can change any part. I know I'm not talking prosperity gospel or, manifest what you want and it will be. No, I'm talking about down to just the bones of who you are. And isn't that what we're all pursuing? We're all pursuing purpose and fulfillment and all these things. And guess what? The only way you're going to feel that is through Christ. And when you wake up in that acknowledgement, then you can focus on, okay, how do I know Christ more? How do I I live more like Christ? And you begin to change what you're thinking about. You begin to change the choices that you're making. You begin to recognize that you don't have to live in your flesh every day, all day, because our flesh is going to be responsive to our feelings. And how we feel is what we're thinking about. So we have to start there. What are we thinking about? What are we spending the majority of our time doing? And where are the points that are breaking down? Where are the points that we're buffering and allowing ourselves to have an excuse to go brain dead and binge watch TV for 2 hours rather than, doing something productive that you want to do? If it's learning a new song on the guitar because you have this passion for that. You have to know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, you can get to know yourself. And there's so many wonderful tools out there to get to know yourself. And actually, I'll put a link in the comments of this video because there is a workbook I created. It's called Unstuck, and it's basically just an easy little downloadable workbook that walks you through things, steps for you to get to know yourself better and to figure out why you're stuck and how to get unstuck and the first steps to take in that process. It's a great little workbook. It won't take you long, but it'll get your mind thinking differently. And that's what we want to do. To motivate you, you have to start thinking differently. And if you start thinking differently and recognize what the benefit is on the other side and how you can incorporate that into your daily life and change things that you're doing now to have space for that, you're going to have results. You're going to have those positive results that you desire to obtain. So that's a starting place for motivation. Be sure to tune in this week to the episode that drops on the Thought Vault podcast. It's going to be a good one and dive deeper into this. So I hope y'all have a fantastic day. Bye for now.